It's a beautiful Monday. How we all doing? So we're going to jump into yet another Patreon listener question. If you want to join the Transformers Slag podcast Patreon, let us know we're doing a good job. Help support the podcast and all the crazy stuff we do day to day in this Transformer world. Patreon.com/Protoman. If you join the Patreon, you get your name in the end credit scroll. You get to join our crazy awesome Discord with all the stuff that goes on there, the deals, the downloads, the sales, the Transformer news that breaks, our cool Discord, all bunch of stuff. And of course, the Patreon listener question. And once again, we have an awesome Patreon listener question from our Primus tier member of DF Deep Freeze. And he wants to know, hey Proto, Transformers Animated is my favorite Transformers series, and I feel like the line was just a little too small compared to Transformers Cybertron that came before it, or Transformers Prime that came after it. There's so many great characters that were in the show that never got toys. Which three characters would you have liked to be seen turned into figures? And the only caveat is they can't be repaint/remolds of characters like, let's say, Thundercracker. Something 100% would be really cool to see. DF Deep Freeze. So, first to get into, yeah, he is right though. Like, I mean, when I look at my display of like Transformer figures, Cybertron was massive compared to Prime, and Cybertron was massive compared to Animated, and then Transformers Prime that came after it, especially with the Japanese extra injection with the ARMS Micron stuff and all the exclusive stuff that came from there, made it even more massive than Animated. Animated, in a lot of ways, I feel like it was created with Hasbro's intent that if the movies didn't work out, this would be their plan B. But they were already so invested into it that regardless of its popularity, it was going to have a short shelf life. And it's a shame because I love it too. I think it's in that top 5 of my favorite Transformers series of all time that I would always revisit and suggest to people. Now, to get into your question, so you say top 3 and they can't be repaints or remolds. And so I have a top 3, but I also have some like honorable mentions because there's so many great designs that Derek Wyatt and the crew did that I would have loved to see turned into toys. But like the 3 that I would have really liked to see, and they're in no specific order, it's just 1, 2, 3. Number 1, I'd like to see Strika. She was part of that whole crew of the Char crew, if you will. So Strika getting a figure would be awesome, because one thing that I noticed when I look at the Transformers Animated collection is there wasn't many large figures. The leader class and the I guess pretty much the Voyagers were also pretty tiny. There wasn't a lot of them. And considering the Decepticons in general were supposed to be these large characters, it's such a shame how there wasn't that many large figures. A lot of deluxes, and deluxes are the go-to with Transformers, and they're 4 designs per wave as opposed to 2 with Voyagers, and sometimes 2, maybe 1 with leaders. I can understand that, but still, I feel there should have been more Decepticons and as a result more deluxes. And Strika would have fit that perfectly. And I would have put Strika in that like Voyager scale, like maybe if you could get a large Voyager or a small leader out of her. But I think a Voyager would have worked out fine. Because that leader class price point, they're very picky about that. They want to put coveted characters and stuff. So Strika as a Voyager, hey, that would have been perfect. I would have dug that, and Strika getting a toy would have been great. Add a female character to that line, when in all honesty, when I look at it, it's like you have, not counting the Bakon stuff, you have like RC, and then I think that's it outside of Black Arachnia. Yeah, it's so, another girl to join the team would have been great. And the buff, awesome Strika would have been really cool, a cool addition to have. Because, she was also kind of featured in Transformers Cyberverse, and unfortunately all she got was a tiny turbo changer that wasn't even in the right color scheme. So be nice to get another Strika figure. My second one would be, and it's a personal favorite of mine just as a character overall and as a toy overall, Grandis. From the Transformers, Battlestars, Return of Star Convoy kind of thing. I love Grandis. as a toy, even the original toy. I love his base mode. I love how he works with Micromasters. A Grandis for the Transformers animated line would have been just as more awesome. And he has to be a leader class. He's a big, bulky, fat figure, as Grandis should be. You need that price point. And considering the way the price point was with animated toys back then with leader class, they would always have some kind of electronic gimmick or something. You could have had Grandis, you could have had his working elevator thing. There would have been something, and it would have been great as a leader class, and I would have loved it. I would have loved it. I would have probably bought 2 of them if that would have been a reality. That's how much I love Grandis, and so cool that he would have been part of it. And you would have got a repaint into Doug Base, which is Grandis's repaint retool, if you really wanted to stretch that mold afterwards. So there's something that could have been done with Grandis, and it's a shame that character never got to be. My number 3 is one of the more unexpected ones that I never hear people say, but I would love to have seen Yoke-Tron get a figure. I remember when I saw that Samurai Prowl figure all those years ago, I was thinking to myself, one day someone's going to, Hasbro or Takara is going to repaint, retool this, or maybe even Bakon at the time, repaint, retool this into Yoke-Tron. I thought at some point that was going to happen, just because it kind of was there in the aesthetic. But then, years would pass, and Derek Wyatt would do interviews and say that Yoke-Tron actually kind of turned into a Cybertronian race car, and he didn't turn into a motorcycle, so it really wouldn't have worked retooling it from Prowl and giving him, let's say, a new head sculpt, but keeping the samurai armor and stuff. But if that's the case, then hey, if he's a really cool Cybertronian race car or something, take Yoke-Tron, maybe put him at that small Voyager price point, give him the armor, retool, make it look really nice, that armor, and give him a whole bunch of weapons. He'll be he'll be a more of a deluxe size car on his own because of his price point. I'm thinking Studio Series Hot Rod, 86 Hot Rod, where because he's going to have that Cybertronian car mode, you don't want him to be an oversized Voyager car that would just be out of scale with all the other cars in the animated toy line. But he could be that deluxe size car, and then the armor adds to the price point that makes it a larger figure, so he could have his armor. And then because he's Yoke-Tron and he's the master of all these different martial arts, give him a bunch of weapons. That'd be really cool. Or if you really want to do some fan wank stuff, give him those pedestals with all the holograms of all the other members of the martial arts crew, Star Saber and Diatlas and everything like that. I mean, that's kind of overdoing it, but I mean, it's just all those little play pieces that I would have loved to see in plastic reality with animated, because I love that series so much. And again, I think Yoke-Tron just would have been cool too because of the history of that character and why he exists, and the name because of Hideaki Yoke, the forefather of the Diaclone and Microman line, one of the 2 main designers of pretty much the origin of Transformers. So for him to finally get a figure of his namesake would be pretty awesome. I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to see it a lot. So those are my top 3. But I also have some honorable mentions, and one of my honorable mentions would have been 1, 2, 3 right there, which is I would have loved to see the Constructicons. I know that there's third-party guys that have been trying to do stuff, and there's 3D printed stuff out there, but from an official capacity, I would have loved to have seen the Constructicons, Scrapper, Mixmaster, and Dirt Boss. And the way that I would have loved to see it too is because I think I remember Derek talking about this. I don't remember if it was in a panel or something, but I remember him mentioning how if there would have been a Devastator and these guys would have combined, Bulkhead would have been a part of that in some way. So the way that I would have saw it is if those figures would have ever happened, you would have got your Scrapper, Mixmaster, Dirt Boss maybe being a deluxe, and Scrapper and Mixmaster being Voyager price points. And then you would have had your Constructicon colored Bulkhead that would have been a brand new figure to come out that year, that wave, that would have been combinable with the others. And we did kind of get a Constructicon Bulkhead, kind of unofficially. There was the Bumpin' Battler repaint of Bulkhead that was I think it was called Construction Bulkhead or something like that, or Workforce Bulkhead. I don't remember what the name was, but it was something like that. And it had those Constructicon colors on it. I'm looking right at it in my collection. And so that would have been really cool. That would have been really cool just to get a little Constructicon team in some way or shape or form, and they'd be able to use that Bulkhead trademark again and have another Bulkhead figure in a future wave. And then the last one, and it wouldn't really fit in my opinion, with what's going on with all the other retail transforming plastic figures, but I would have loved to just see like a season 3 Sorry. You know, the whole like, you know, Allspark Allspark unlocked key to Vector Sigma Sorry, that whole thing. Maybe she would have been in SH Figure Arts or Figma, you know, something that would have existed independently from the Hasbro Takara, you know, kind of line. But it would have been cool. Or other human characters, you know, Angry Archer or anything like that. I would have dug it. But I mean, Sorry, I think that's kind of on a lot of people's list. They would have liked a season 3 Sorry figure. Would have been really cool with the armor and, you know, interchangeable heads, so you could have the mask up, mask down, and everything. But those again honorable mentions pretty much. But again, Strika, Voyager class, Grandis, leader class, and Yoketron, a Voyager with armor and stuff, a la, you know, let's go Studio Series 86 Hot Rod price point, where you give a lot of accessories to justify that price point, but still keep the scale as a deluxe otherwise. Those are my 3. So I hope that answers. And you know what? And again, everyone who's listening, give your top 3. Give your top 3, but you got to keep within Deep Freeze's caveat here, where it's like it has to be something that's not a repaint, remold of something pre-existing. Because it's so easy to just go, you know, give me my Seekers. Or, you know, take, I don't know, I'm just going to take a look here quickly. You know, like take RC and do Paradon Medic or something. Like, you know, do something that would have been like one of the brand new molds, something that would have been brand new for a future wave that if it would have happened, and add it to this. But again, thanks for the question, Deep Freeze. It's a really good one, and I hope everyone is having a great day. And once again, if you want to be part of the Patreon like Deep Freeze, patreon.com/Protoman. Check the description, check the pinned comment below, and come support the podcast, rock out with us, and I hope you're having a great week with Transformers.